Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Jenny Delwood, and I will be sharing a few housekeeping updates before we get started. This is the press conference for tenant protection hosted by Los Angeles County, Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, and the Stay Housed LA Collaborative. Today, we will be sharing updates around tenant protection, particularly those that were extended by the county just yesterday, as well as changes in state law. Additionally, we will be sharing some updates on resources available to all tenants across Los Angeles County. Before we go ahead and get started, I would like to ask for all those who are interested in interpretation. We know we have many multilingual reporters as well as outlets joining us today. So if you are interested in hearing today's presentation in Spanish, Korean, or Mandarin, please click the globe at the bottom of your screen labeled interpretation. That screen, or rather that link, will include a few different menu options. And if you would like to hear today's presentation, again in Korean, Mandarin, or Spanish, please select the appropriate language. You will then be placed in a room where you will see the visuals as well as the speakers, but you will hear the interpreted words through audio in the language of your selection and your choosing. Additionally, we will be recording each language, so you will be able to have access to those recordings afterwards in various languages: English, Spanish, Mandarin, and Korean. So feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you would like those recordings. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to the Director of the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, Rafael Carbajal.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this briefing today. I'm Rafael Carbajal, the Director of the Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. This morning, we'll be discussing the steps LA County is taking to assist our residents as some key state eviction protections come to an end. We'll hear from the Honorable 3rd District Supervisor, Sheila Kuehl, and our good partners at Stay Housed LA, who will give us an update on how we are protecting tenants through this crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused unprecedented devastation and hardship worldwide, and Los Angeles County is no exception. Many of our residents have suffered physically, emotionally, and financially, with tenants and property owners being some of the hardest hit. The newly updated COVID-19 Tenant Protection Resolution offers continued protections for both commercial and residential tenants, while expanding the owner move-in carve-out for property owners. So here's what you need to know. Some important state eviction protections are set to expire tomorrow, September 30th. This means that beginning October 1st, if you're a residential tenant and miss a rent payment, you may be evicted for non-payment. Landlords may file lawsuits to recover unpaid COVID rental debt in small claims court beginning November 1st. So struggling renters must take action now. But it's important to note that there are still protections and resources available to help. For residential tenants, rent relief continues to be available to cover up to 100% of past due rent and utilities. To be clear, there is no deadline, but renters and landlords impacted by COVID-19 who need help with rent should apply immediately before funds run out. We urge you to apply for rent relief if you've missed any rent or utility payments since March 2020. The same applies if you haven't missed any payments, but feel you will be unable to pay your rent or utilities going forward. Please reach out to Housing is Key. Renters and property owners should visit the state's website, housingiskey.com, for more information. We understand that each situation is unique, but struggling renters should reach out to us immediately to determine what protections apply and what resources are available. We can help provide information on your rights as a tenant or a landlord, where to apply for rent relief, and whether you qualify for free legal assistance. So call us at 1-800-593-8222 for more information. That number again is 1-800.
Sorry, I'm having to monitor some press conference that Sheila's at this morning. Okay, so that's the last.
Barbara, can you please put yourself
What's
on
going
mute?
on?
We can hear you. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks, Barbara. And again, let me reiterate, call us at 1-800-593-8222 for more information. And we're here to help. And now I have the privilege to introduce a real champion for struggling tenants throughout this pandemic. Under the leadership of our Board of Supervisors, the county took action to implement emergency COVID-19 tenant protections to prevent displacement throughout this health crisis. Due to her leadership and that of our Board of Supervisors, protections available to tenants have been extended. So without further ado, allow me to introduce the 3rd District Supervisor, Sheila Keel.
Thank you so much, Rafael. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank everyone, all of my advocate partners, our tenant representative who's going to speak to us today, and especially everybody from the 4th Estate showing up to be interested to get the word out on what is exactly the case starting today, or actually tomorrow. So yesterday at the board meeting of the Board of Supervisors, we voted to extend the COVID-19 eviction protections for non-payment of rent for commercial renters. And we extended some of our renter protections for residential tenants all the way through the end of January next year, January 31, 2022. However, because we must comply with state law, it's clear the county does not have the authority, because they said we cannot extend non-payment of rent protections to our residential tenants. So it's not an eviction moratorium, which means, no evictions. And as Rafael said, despite all we tried to do, when that protection from the state expires tomorrow, a landlord can file an eviction notice. However, 2 things. We don't think the state's going to extend its protection last minute. It looks pretty clear. So that will happen. But there's several important things that our residential tenants should know. First of all, I'm going to repeat this. Any residential tenants who fell behind in their rent during the pandemic are eligible, or may be eligible, for non-payment of rent protection, provided you apply to the state rent relief program. And you need to do that. You need to do that. I can't emphasize that enough. County residents who fell behind their rent because of COVID-19 must apply for state relief in order to be eligible for eviction protection. And as Rafael said, the program is called Housing is Key, housingiskey.com. And you can see how to do that on that site. Also, the county motion that we passed yesterday protects against non-payment of rent for commercial businesses, which we're still allowed to do by the state. And we extended protections that we put in place last year to protect our residential tenants so that they can't be evicted for nuisances that they may be claimed to be causing because they have additional pets, more than they're allowed, or more occupants than they're allowed. These are called affirmative defenses. So even though you have to defend yourself, these affirmative defenses are in place, and that's all over the county, not just in the unincorporated areas, in all of our cities. The motion also took a step about exploring how we might go about lifting these protections, because they can't, unfortunately, go on forever. Or a lot of people are just going to have to cash out to their banks because they can't pay their mortgages. So we're trying to find a balance, and we recognize that renters aren't the only people that took a big hit during the pandemic. So we're going to gradually sunset these protections, but there are no plans yet. We're going to evaluate every month how needed all these protections still are. And to remind you, in our rent stabilized units in the unincorporated areas, we also continue to bar any rent increases. That is in our rent stabilized units in the unincorporated areas. We also expanded the conditions under which landlords, property owners, can move into units in the building they own, because some of them are becoming homeless, but they can't move into buildings that they own. So we really circumscribed the way in which they can do that, and the kind of tenant that can or cannot be moved out. You have to be given moving expenses, and it's it was single-family dwellings, and we expanded it to duplexes and triplexes. So as we move forward, we're going to continue to lift some of these restrictions as part of a deliberate strategy to balance the needs of landlords and the needs of our tenants. So the last thing that I want to share with you, and I want to be very clear, just to say it again, none of these protections prohibit evictions being filed against residential tenants. Property owner can file those papers. But if you receive one of those eviction notices, you have to respond. And all we did was provide you with a couple of defenses. No, you can't kick me out because I took in a COVID puppy. No, you can't kick me out because my son had to move back in with me and it's more than 3 people or whatever, but they can still file the papers. So I want to thank Raphael, all of his staff, the Department of Business and Consumer Affairs for doing an amazing job over the whole past year and a half, supporting renters and property owners. And also thank all of you for being here today, because getting the word out accurately is so important to us. Thank you for helping us share this important information with county residents. I'm sorry I can't stay for the entire press conference. We're working on the budget that's coming next Tuesday, and somehow I have to keep going to these meetings. But I really want you to know how much I appreciate your work in getting the information to the people who need it, all of you. So I hope that you have a very good day and the rest of the conference. And thanks again for all the work you're all doing to make sure that people know their rights. Thank you, Raphael. Back to you.
Oh, thank you, Supervisor. Appreciate you taking the time. And here at DCBA, we're proud to serve our community under your leadership and that of this board. So thank you very much for making time to join us and helping get the word out. So many of you know, the pandemic has left an estimated 1/3 of households unable to make rent and facing losing their homes. Through DCBA's partnership with Stay Housed LA, residents of LA County can find workshops that help them know their rights and obtain legal assistance. Stay Housed LA's Jenny Delwood is here to talk more about their tenant protection efforts, how they can help, and how struggling renters can sign up for upcoming workshops so they can know their rights. Ladies and gentlemen, Jenny Delwood again.
Thank you, Raphael. Before I dive into my remarks, I just want to let the media know that are here today, any reporters or anyone really with questions today, you're welcome to put them into the chat as we continue the program so that we can get to your questions in the most efficient manner at the end of our program. So please do put them in the chat and we'll get to your questions as soon as we can. So as Raphael said, my name is Jenny Delwood with the Liberty Hill Foundation. We are proud to be one of the coordinating entities for the Stay Housed LA program. The Stay Housed LA program is a comprehensive eviction prevention and defense program, including mass-based public awareness, outreach, educational workshops, legal assistance, tenant navigation, including support to apply for rental assistance. We help tenants understand their rights and exercise them. We proactively outreach to the highest rent burdened communities via phone and text to offer Know Your Rights workshops and support accessing rental assistance. We also connect tenants to direct legal assistance, including in-court representation to prevent eviction, address tenant harassment, improve habitability, and a variety of other tenant challenges. We are also at this point hosting clinics and taking appointments to help tenants apply for rental assistance through the state of California's Housing is Key website. Thus far, we're proud to say that we've connected over 280,000 tenants with educational resources. We've provided more than 10,000 tenants with legal counsel and represented over 500 tenants in court. This county-wide program, funded by the County of Los Angeles, as well as the City of Los Angeles, the cities of Long Beach and Santa Monica, is truly unprecedented. We bring together 9 legal service providers, 14 community-based tenant organizations, and a variety of other stakeholders to be a one-stop shop for all tenants who are in need of legal guidance, clarification on their rights, as well as help navigating the confusing policy landscape and rental assistance offerings that are now available. We utilize culturally relevant outreach as well as communications to ensure that we're providing services in multiple languages and that these services are provided by trusted community-based organizations. We have a centralized website as well as a hotline to sign up for workshops and get referred to legal assistance. I'm simply going to share my screen very briefly so that all the reporters and attendees today are able to see the Know Your Rights information, get legal help, find a workshop in Spanish, a variety of Asian languages, as well as many other languages that are most frequently used here in Los Angeles County. It's a very easy website to navigate. That website, for clarification, is stayhousedla.org. Again, that's www.stayhousedla.org. Our hotline, for those that may be experiencing digital divide issues, is 888-694-0040. Again, that's 888-694-0040, where we can support tenants who do not have access to the internet. With that overview of Stay Housed LA, it is my great privilege to now introduce a tenant who came to one of our community partners, LA Can. She is a survivor as well as a renter here in Los Angeles who has weathered the storm of COVID-19 as we all have. And she's here today to share about her experience with Stay Housed LA and LA Can and the services that she's received. Salam Singer, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Salam Singer, and I wanted to speak a little bit about the Stay Housed LA program and LA Can that I found through online and was able to reach out to through the workshops that I attended. And I was able to get help in a time of uncertainty that was real help in terms of the workshops, learning about the different laws, which can be confusing between the city, the county, the state, all that. But more than that, I was able to receive actual legal help from the service. They helped me to draft letters, to assert my rights against my landlord who had been making unfair financial requests from me. And I don't think that I would be here today without that service, because I would not have known all the, the proper steps to take. And most of the time landlords have representation. My landlord happens to be an attorney. So it would have been an uphill battle for me that I would have lost for sure. And I just wanted to thank the program very much. And I wanted to participate in my own way to see if I could just confirm the veracity of the program and how helpful it has been to me, and it can be to others. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Salam. We really appreciate you being here today, sharing your experience with Stay Housed LA, as well as being willing to share that here today with media and others. We hope that Salam's story showcases the value and the importance for all tenants who may be unclear or confused or facing a bit of a struggle with housing instability or their landlord. We invite you to reach out to stayhousedla.org or call the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, because we want to help. We want to make sure that we're preventing homelessness, that we are providing legal guidance, advocacy, whether it be, as Salam said, writing a letter to make sure that everybody is clear, all relevant parties, including the landlords, are clear on what current law is. And we love to be able to support even before you, any tenant receives an eviction notice. We want to prevent those eviction notices from happening in the first place. So Salam shared that she was able to get in touch with us, understand that the financial requests that were being made of her were invalid and actually not legal. And we were able to support her through that. We can support tenants if they feel that they're experiencing harassment, an unlawful rent increase, as well as a variety of other tenant protections that I think we'll recap at some point very soon. But with that, I want to just thank Selam so much for joining us, and I'll pass it back to you, Rafael.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Selam, to appreciate your braveness at taking the time to join us here today. Well, with that being said, I think we have a bit of time for questions and answers, so feel free to share your questions in the chat. On our end, joining us today to help answer some of the questions from our DCBA team, I do have Dana Pratt, DANAPRATT, Deputy Director over Housing and Tenant Protections, and Manny Ruiz, MANNYRUIZ, Senior Policy Analyst here at DCBA, to help answer some of your questions. I see we have one of our first questions in. Let's see. Could you guys explain which program undocumented tenants and also undocumented landlords qualify? Are there any programs that are discussed today that undocumented residents or undocumented tenants do not qualify for? So all of these services and all these protections are available to all of LA County residents and tenants. I'll hand it over to Dana to see if you have anything else to add for that.
Thank you, Rafael. I will just echo what your comments. And good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Yes, the great thing about our services with DCBA and also through our Stay Housed LA partnership is that all of these services are available regardless of your status. So you can reach out to DCBA or to Stay Housed, and we'll put that information in the chat. That telephone number for DCBA is 1-800-593-8222, and we can counsel you on your rights and responsibilities and also connect you to different resources that you may qualify for.
Thank you. We also have Gigi Lam joining us today. Please let me know if you'd like to contribute to that conversation, Gigi.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, second question. Can you provide more details about the extension for a moratorium on evictions on commercial tenants? Can you please explain the importance of people making a claim now to preserve their future rights? Yes, thank you very much. As noted, the extension did extend protections to our commercial tenants, and I'll hand it over to Dana.
Sure, thank you so much. So the board action yesterday did two things. So it extended the COVID-19 protections, but not just for commercial tenants. It also applies to residential tenants. But for the commercial tenants, we're also including non-payment of rent protections. So it's really important that if you're a commercial tenant and you can't pay your rent, that you notify your landlord within 7 days of the rent being due. Depending on the size of your business, you may have to provide some notice in writing. So please reach out to us so that we can walk you through that process. For residential tenants, we are preempted by the state from protecting for non-payment. However, we did still include some protections for no fault reasons, also nuisance, unauthorized occupants and pets, and denial of entry to your landlord. And so again, reach out to DCBA if you want more details on those rights and responsibilities, or to see if something applies to you.
Rafael, you're on mute.
Apologize. Thank you for that. So when tenants need legal assistance, like helping draft a letter, should they reach out to DCBA specifically or a nonprofit? Also, can landlords reach out for legal help using the same resources? That's a really, really great question. We're here to assist here at DCBA. You could contact us here at DCBA at 1-800-593-8222, and we could triage the issue both for landlords and tenants, and then help connect you to the right resources, such as our partners at Stay Housed. But with that being said, though, I do invite Dana or Gigi to jump in if they'd like to clarify anything that I missed.
I'm happy to jump in as well, Rafael. This is
Thank
Jenny
you.
with Stay Housed. We are welcoming all tenants at the Stay Housed LA website. If you have a question, we can get you an answer, whether that be through our community-based organizations or legal service providers. The one-stop shop website, stayhousedla.org, does provide some questions. If you have a legal referral and you have a specific eviction notice or summons, that's when the legal services are going to really kick in. If you do have a question that our community-based organizations can answer, or you want to attend a clinic, you can get an answer, as well as support with letters at our clinics, which are available on our website as well, both workshops and clinics. So the direct answer to your question is you can reach out either to DCBA or to Stay Housed LA, and we'll get you to the right services to be able to support on the tenant side. If you are a landlord, we do recommend that you go to the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, since our specialization at Stay Housed is for tenants.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for clarifying that. Absolutely. Again, for tenants or landlords that are looking to reach out to DCBA, again, the number is 1-800-593-8222. We did receive a question if we could share the information in Spanish. Joining us today is Manny Ruiz, who could provide some of the information in Spanish. Manny, do you mind chiming in?
Sure. Good morning. So yes, if there are any specific questions on how we do outreach to the Spanish-speaking community, as Jenny had mentioned previously while she was showing the website for Stay Housed, we have a lot of our resources and web pages translated into Spanish. A lot of our collateral also on the DCBA website, if you go to rent.lacounty.gov, is also in Spanish. All our facts and different pieces of information. So we do try to provide as much access to this information in different languages, not just specifically in Spanish. But I will be around also to answer any questions for any specific Spanish-speaking media.
Thank you, Manny. Another question. If residential tenants cannot pay their rent October 1st for October or November, for example, are they at risk of being evicted because of the expiration of the moratorium? I'm a little confused about what happens for folks who still cannot pay their rent. That's a great question, and that's why we're having this forum, because of the changes with the expiration of the state and the changes with our protections now. It's a very nuanced, and every situation is unique. And that's why we encourage everybody to reach out either to DCBA or a partner that Stay Housed, so that we could evaluate every specific situation to figure out what protections are available, which ones aren't, what responsibilities are there on both sides of the aisle, on the landlord side and the tenant side. So with that said, I'm gonna ask Dana to take a first try at answering that question.
Sure. So I'll start with the county perspective, and then I'd like to throw it over to Gigi to add to that. So for residential tenants in the county that are covered by the county's protections, remember that we do not currently protect for non-payment of rent. And that was due to the state's language preempting us. So it's really important that tenants do a few things. One, don't ignore any notices that you receive. You want to make sure that if you can't pay starting October 1st, that you at least apply for rent relief through the state's program, which is Housing is Key. And so if you go to housingiskey.com, then you can access that information. So there may still be some additional protections there. And so this is just for residential tenants. I would also say that you want to make sure that you reach out to either DCBA or to Stay Housed to understand like your specific situation, because there are going to be some other nuances that apply. And so then I would just want to pass it to Gigi to include any comments that I may have missed.
Yes, everything that Dana said. As soon as you receive any kind of notice from the court, from your landlord, please reach out to Stay Housed LA immediately so that we can help you navigate the situation. I also want to add that depending on where you live, there are additional protections that you may qualify for. And even though the eviction protections are sunsetting end of this month for the state, it doesn't mean that the landlord will be able to sue you. They have to go through certain steps. So it's important that as soon as you are unable to pay your rent, that you apply for rental assistance immediately, notify your landlord in writing, make sure that you keep a record of every single correspondence with your landlord, and then contact State House LA either online or call us. We are here to assist you.
Thank you, Gigi. Another question, what assistance will be available for tenants who become homeless due to expiration of eviction protections? Well, first of all, this is why we have this resource, trying to avoid that happening. So the first thing I would say is encourage folks to make sure they reach out both to either DCBA or our State House folks. There's a number of programs available countywide that we do encourage folks to take advantage of. Unfortunately, each situation, again, is very, very unique. And depending on the individual situation, there's different resources that are available to them. If folks facing a situation where they're potentially going to be evicted or facing the potential of being homeless, I do encourage them to reach out to us again here at DCBA at 1-800-593-8222. If there's nothing that we can do to assist them to avoid the eviction, we could certainly connect them to with the right resources and point them in the right direction to all of the available resources that are available both through the county and through our nonprofit and other partners. All right, thanks. Another question, is there a sense of how many people in LA County are at risk of eviction? That's a great question. And it's a question that the board has asked us to look into as part of yesterday's action. There's been a number of reports that try to account for how many of those folks are at risk of eviction. So I'll let the experts, Dana or Manny, chime in on that.
Yeah, so I think we know that about a third of county residents have been affected somewhat in not being able to pay their past due rents, and there's an estimated number that about 744,000 households are being negatively impacted by COVID-19 and not being able to pay rent. So there's a large number of households affected, and a study recently published by USC and UCLA stated that upwards of maybe up to $3 billion in back rent might be due in the aggregate. And so we can't underscore the importance of individuals that may, have back rent to really apply for the state funding while it's available. There's significant resources that the state and the federal government are providing for residents to access and also to landlords, so that we can try to mitigate the regional economic effects of what's going on with all this back due rent. So we're facing, this potential eviction, in the next coming weeks and months, but we're definitely prepared to assist individuals through the resources available through State House and, through helping people navigate the state's rental assistance program.
Thank you, Manny. Appreciate that. And a follow-up question to that, if someone is living in an illegal dwelling, what guidance would you provide them on applying for this assistance? That's a really, really good question. And I'm gonna defer to Jenny or Gigi on that question.
Gigi, could you take that one?
Sure. If you are living in an illegal dwelling and your landlord is demanding rent from you, I would argue that your landlord is not entitled to rent because it is an illegal dwelling. However, I still encourage everyone that if you are impacted by COVID and you have received a notice that you owe rent, you should still apply for rental assistance, just so that at least you have done everything that you could on your end. And please contact State House LA. Do not ignore any notices from your landlord. Even if you are in the right, you still need to respond to everything that you receive from the landlord and from the court.
Thank you, Gigi.
And I'd just like to add in that this is super important to apply for rental assistance. State law now stipulates that if you do apply for rental assistance, then the court is supposed to stop any eviction proceedings in regards to non-payment of rent. At this point in time, we don't have full clarity from the courts on exactly how they're doing that, but we look forward to hearing from our partners at the court about that. And in the meantime, we highly recommend applying for rental assistance through Housing is Key and connecting with State House LA so we can support you and navigate the confusing policy landscape that exists currently in regards to tenants' rights.
Great. We have another question. Is there help for utilities? Yes. So the rental assistance program does cover utilities as well. And there's additional programs available through the county as well. So please reach out or have folks reach out to Stay Housed LA and or DCBA should they want additional resources on that. Great. Is there any more questions before we move on? What does a September 30 deadline mean? Great question. Complicated answer to an extent, but we're going to try to simplify it as best we can. So I'm going to ask Dana to take a crack at that one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Raphael. And that is a great question. So the September 30th deadline essentially marks the end of some of the key protections at the state level. So right now, through September 30th, residential tenants are protected for non-payment of rent as if they missed any rent dating back to March of last year. And so right now you are able to, as a tenant in California, you are able to submit a declaration to your landlord, which gives you protection from being evicted, from ever being evicted from that, for that debt, if you took those necessary steps, which include making sure that you submit that written declaration in response to a notice, a 15-day notice from your landlord. But that expires September 30th, which means that starting October 1st, if you don't pay your full rent, then we go back, instead of 15-day notices, we go back to those 3-day notices to pay or quit. However, I think as my colleague stated, that even after September 30th, as long as you apply for rental assistance, there may still be some protections for you.
Great, thank you, Dana. Another question. What concerns, if any, do you have about the money available for rental assistance running out? That's a really good question. One of the things that our first concern is that it's not being spent fast enough and people aren't accessing this resource fast enough. Both landlords and tenants are eligible to apply. And one of our biggest concerns is that we're seeing low usage by the landlords as well. But I do want to hand it off to Jenny and see if she has any commentary on that.
Yes, so the reality is that these are limited funds. So we want as many people in Los Angeles County to apply as soon as possible for rental assistance. The funds are limited. There are many of them that have been allocated to the state, but it's first come, first served across the entire state of California with millions and millions of people. So please apply for rental assistance if you're having any trouble paying your rent due to COVID-19, and you will benefit both from the financial resources that the rental assistance and the utility assistance provides. But in addition, you will have additional protections in terms of preventing eviction. Now, these protections aren't foolproof, but that's why you got to apply and reach out to Stay Housed LA so that we can help you ensure your protections are maximized to the largest extent possible.
And building on that, there was an earlier question about how many folks need assistance. Well, one of the key metrics to figure that out is folks accessing this resource. So the more folks apply, it also gives us here at the county and in Sacramento a better indication of what the real need is. Looking at the use, it's our opinion that the use of these funds do not capture the actual demand for a variety of reasons, and that's why we're here with your help to get the word out for folks to take advantage of this benefit. Okay, don't have any other questions, Manny. I don't know if I could put you on the spot to share some of our information in Spanish.
Yes. Sí, buenos días. Como nos dije otra vez, mi nombre es Manuel Ruiz. Yo soy un analista principal con el Departamento de Servicios para Consumidores y Negocios. Otra vez, la moratoria del Estado va a terminar el 30 de septiembre y nosotros estamos tratando de proveer información para asegurar a varios inquilinos y dueños de propiedades a través del condado que todavía van a existir protecciones Y lo importante de saber es que la moratoria del Estado sí va a terminar mañana, pues empezando el 1 de octubre, inquilinos tienen que asegurarse de contactarse con los recursos y la asistencia que ellos van a necesitar para poder ejercer los derechos que ellos tienen. Una cosa importante es de saber a dónde llamar, con quién contactarse. El primer recurso que un inquilino tiene o un propietario es de llamar al Departamento de Servicios para Consumidores y Negocios y se puede contactar con nosotros llamando al número 1-800-593-8222. También puede ir a nuestro sitio de web que es rent.lacounty.gov. También puede contactarse con el programa de Stay House de LA, que da recursos específicamente a inquilinos que necesitan asistencia con un caso de desalojo. Y puede contactarse con nuestro programa Stay House a través del número 1-888-694-0040. Otra vez, inquilinos tienen derechos, aunque la moratoria del Estado se va a terminar mañana. Tienen que asegurarse que respondan cuando un dueño le manda un aviso, de aplicar para asistencia financiera a través del programa del Estado por COVID-19 para las rentas atrasadas, y también de asegurarse de contactarse con el Departamento de Servicios para Consumidores o con Stay House de LA para saber cuáles son sus recursos y las protecciones disponibles para usted. Y otra vez, nosotros estamos disponibles para responder a cualquier otra pregunta que usted tenga. Gracias.
Gracias, Manny. Lo más importante que hay que reconocer es que hay ayuda y estamos aquí para ayudar. Apreciamos su tiempo y que nos ayuden a comunicar esto a todos los inquilinos aquí de Los Ángeles. This is a pivotal moment in the county, and it's one of the most challenging times for many of our county tenants. So as you've heard today, even though the state protections may be ending tomorrow, the county's updated COVID-19 tenant protections resolution offers continued protections for tenants. These protections may vary based on each unique situation. So ensuring tenants understand their rights is critical. Education and access to information is arguably the biggest protections tenants have at this time. So be sure to sign up for an upcoming workshop with our partners at stayhousedla.org. There are 2 workshops tomorrow, so I encourage everybody to sign up that wants to get additional information and figure out where they could get some additional support. So for everyone that's been on this briefing with us, thank you. Thank you for taking the time for joining us and helping us get the word out that renters are not alone and that we're here to help. Thank you very much.